Welcome back. YCN Sports Talk. Jeremy Stout, Andrew Zerhide. We talked about the Red Sox on the field. They're still in first place, 2 games ahead of Tampa,
right.
so don't need to panic. But there are moves definitely to be made, especially after what happened to the Yankees did. You talked about it a little bit in the last segment, so let's get into it. They break down that trade. They get Todd Frazier, David Robertson, and another reliever. Give up a couple prospects. One was the #1 draft pick last year for the Yankees. And I believe it was a #3 prospect in their system. So they gave up some players. But at this point, they have a pretty good team. Their bullpen might have been aided more than the actual offense with that trade.
Right, and I think that #1 pick, I believe he was an outfielder.
Yes, he was.
And I think
I don't remember his name right now, but he's an outfielder.
They have enough outfielders right now.
Right.
So, I think for the Yankees, that was definitely a good move. I think a lot of people thought they were going to have to give up a little bit more than that. So the Yankees definitely made off well. They definitely improved their team and stole Todd Frazier away from the Red Sox. I mean, the Sox, really, that was kind of the guy who they thought they could give up probably a low-level prospect and some cash. Not have to give up a ton. But, with Todd Frazier, he strikes out a ton. I mean, he's either striking out or hitting a home run, basically. And, his average is like 210, maybe even under that. So, with the Red Sox, it was you needed that pop, that home run hitting guy, but at the same time, he's going to strike out probably over 200 times this season. So, I think a guy like maybe Jed Lowry in Oakland.
More contact hitter.
More
possibly.
contact. I think his OPS is close to 800 right now. He has like 10 home runs. His average is solid. He plays good defense at third, and he played his first 4 years with the Red Sox. So I think Jed Lowry would be another option. I think I've heard Eduardo Nunez in the Giants. Even Yunel Escobar, I think he's with the Angels right now. So there's some more options, definitely, but Todd Frazier was probably the best option in terms of not giving up a ton. And so, I mean, kind of just pulled the rug out from underneath the Red Sox. At least that's how I felt about it.
And I think the way I look at it as Todd Frazier, like you said, isn't a huge upgrade over Chase Headley, but that big reliever, that big piece in the bullpen, I don't know if it's enough to make the Yankees the favorite in the American League East. I think it gets them a little bit closer, obviously, but now it's the Red Sox, maybe Yankees and Tampa are right there. And not to say that I think the Red Sox are okay standing pat. They might need to make a move, but I really do think if they don't get a third baseman, they'll be okay. If they get a third baseman, I don't think he's winning you any more games in the playoffs, but I think a relief pitcher would. So I think #1, like you mentioned, Pat Neshek, or somebody else that maybe is on somebody's radar, I think a relief pitcher is much more important, and that's just me.
I mean, definitely in the playoffs, it's much more important.
And we saw last year that bullpens are very important.
I mean, it seems like the last kind of 5 years in the World Series and really deep into the playoffs, the bullpen has been a huge factor. I mean, we saw with the Royals what all those guys did with like Herrera and all those pitchers. So really, relief pitching, if you think you're going to make the playoffs, it's a huge premium to have. But there's just been times, and even last night, you see a guy like Devin Marrero come to the plate. He's going to strike out.
And then he can't even get a bunt down.
He can't even get a bunt down, That was a big situation. That bunt would have been huge, and he couldn't get that bunt down. So really just a solid, not even an above average hitter, just an average bat, a 250 hitter like Jed Lowry. I think that would be a huge upgrade for the regular season, but I think in the postseason, definitely an eighth inning guy, an eighth inning reliever is definitely going to be more important.
Okay, so we go back to third base. That's the topic. That's who they need. But they know they have Rafael Devers in the minor leagues. Now he's up into AAA, and he's hitting well in AAA. He's obviously the future of this team. Will they see him? Will we see him September call-ups? Do you think he'd make the playoff roster or not until next year? Where do we see him? Because he's hitting the ball well, and looks like even though he's young, like 19, he's ready to be in the majors.
He is very young, and he's looked really good at AAA. I think he's been there 4 games now. And in his first game, he went 4 for 4 with a home run. So, I mean, I think, it really depends on what they do at third base, if they make a trade or not. If they get a guy like Jed Lowry, I don't think they would bring him up. It depends on how that third baseman does, obviously. If they're sticking with Marrero and then Lynn, I think Lynn's now in AAA, but he'll get called back up, I'm sure, soon. But if they stick with those two guys, I could definitely see Devers being called up in September. Get him a couple weeks in the big leagues. Hopefully, maybe get him ready for the playoffs. I know it's going to be harder for him to hit in the playoffs. But I mean, he's thrived at every level that he's been upgraded to. He's done well. So. And
if you even have a guy on the bench who can run or field in the playoffs, especially if you make it to the World Series, you get those double switches. You can put somebody in. So I think you could have some impact on the team. I don't think it'll be a huge impact this year, but hopefully next year he's the starting third baseman because they need that.
Yeah, they desperately need that. They haven't had a solid starting third baseman in a while, especially getting rid of Travis Shaw. Which
I know, right? He's still upset
apart,
about that.
But yeah, no,
it's over. Maybe they can trade back for him in the offseason.
They have to pay a pretty price, but yeah.
Right? So Red Sox looking good. I'm sure they'll be making some moves before the trade deadline at the end of July. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll head over to the gridiron and talk some contracts. And can the Patriots go 19-0 this season? One player thinks that's stupid to talk about. You're watching YCN Sports Talk.